And joining me now is Deanne Criswell, the FEMA administrator, of course. Thank you so much. I know you're so busy, but thanks for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it. You just saw this new video. Do you have any information, possibly connecting these electrical incidents to how some of these wildfires might have been ignited?
Hi, Andrea. We don't have any of that information, and I would certainly defer you back to the state or Hawaiian Electric as they continue their investigation. Where we are focused right now is continuing to search for and identify anybody that's missing through the search area, as well as helping to support all of those families that have been displaced by this tragic event.
And with the reporting that still only 38% of the affected area has been searched, there's so many reasons why access was so difficult. Is this, arguably the most difficult search area, the disaster area that you've had to deal with?
I mean, this is certainly a very complicated search environment. There's obviously a lot of debris. There's a lot of glass and still hot spots around the search area. One of the primary means that we're using is our canine teams, and this is very difficult on them, which is why we've sent additional dogs in. And so we do have over 40 canine teams on the island right now that are assisting with this search process. We're working very closely with Maui and their local officials. We want to do this as quickly as possible, but we also need to make sure that we are accurate and that we're going through everything to ensure that we have identified any of the remains that might still be there in Lahaina.
We hear that, 1,000 or more people might still be missing. Is that possibly, hopefully, because of bad communications and people are staying in shelters or not, communicating, or elderly and can't? Can you give us any update on what you think might be the universe here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an accurate number on how many total are missing, but I think that your point is accurate, right? I think some of those that are unaccounted for, are those that are staying with friends and family that just haven't reported back in or perhaps left the island. We're going to work with the state and the county to help, work on connecting people that have moved to other places or are sheltering in other places so we can get a better idea of what the total number of people that are truly missing might be.
What about the fire responders, fire teams telling us that they didn't have water in the hydrants, that they couldn't get water? Have officials explained to you that? Do you have any update on that?
Yeah, I know that some of the local first responders, I heard them talking about this. Again, I would have to defer you to the county for any of the specifics. And we're going to have a lot of time to go through and the county and the state are going to have a lot of time to go through and analyze what the lessons learned, the cause and the origin are. We always want to make sure that we understand all of the contributing factors so we as a profession can continue to improve and make sure that our communities are safe. We do just want to make sure right now that we are focused on what we're doing today, which is going through that search area, identifying any remains that might still be in there, and helping all of those families that have been displaced so they can move into some interim shelter outside of the congregate shelters that are on island right now.
There was a lot of anger over the difficulty to getting back. The main road was blocked. I know it's been cleared now, but also that people couldn't escape because electric utility companies were blocking access. Have you been able to get in where you need to go, or are there still places you can't get?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Our search teams certainly have been on the ground in the main area doing their search and recovery missions. Once they opened up that access road, it also allowed us to start getting our teams into the community and going door to door, seeing who needs help, who hasn't registered for assistance yet. I know that we've had a disaster declaration just about a week ago, right? I think it was last Thursday that the president declared this a major disaster. And since then, we've already given out over $3 million in financial assistance to families that have registered with FEMA. And so really appreciate this opportunity, Andrea, to come on here because we want to make sure that everybody has the word to register. And as we continue to go door to door, we want to be able to reach everybody that we perhaps haven't reached yet and bring our services to them.
And is there anything that FEMA can do to help with temporary housing? I remember after Katrina in Mississippi, partly through the governor then, Haley Barbour, they brought in double-wide trailers for people. The trailer communities were created. I know it's a lot more difficult on an island to get supplies in, to ship things in, but what can FEMA do? What can the U.S. government do to help the state?
Yeah, the long-term housing mission is certainly one of the things that falls within our area of coordination responsibility. The governor already had done a housing assessment before this event happened, to better understand what the housing needs were and how they could expand some of the affordable housing on the island. This gives us a really good jumping-off point to work with the governor and his team to come up with solutions to find longer-term transitional housing, or even in some cases new permanent housing for some of the residents. We are going to bring in the entire federal family. We met yesterday to talk about creative solutions. We're going to continue to meet because, the temporary housing units that you mentioned are one of the tools in our toolbox, and all of these tools are on the table for us, but we also have to understand, what is right there on the island that we can use that can hopefully help expedite the ability to move people into this longer-term transitional housing.
And we know the president and First Lady are going to be going on Monday. And obviously, care and comfort is very, very important. Yeah. But is there something that the president needs to learn by seeing it firsthand?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be traveling with them on Monday, and what the president's going to see is what I saw when I went into Lahaina, and he's going to see how devastating this fire was to this community. He's going to have an opportunity to talk to families that have been impacted and provide that level of reassurance that he has directed the entire federal government to provide every resource that we have available to help this community recover. And I think that level of reassurance is going to be well received within the community.